Imagine waking up in a mansion worth millions, stepping onto your private jet, and by sunset, you're wearing an orange jumpsuit behind bars. In 2025, that nightmare became reality for some of the most powerful executives in the world. And the CEO at number one, his fraud cost ordinary people $8 billion. Welcome to True Crime Explorers. Today, we're counting down the 10 biggest corporate criminals who finally faced justice in 2025. Make sure you stick around, you won't want to miss number one. 2025 wasn't just another year in corporate America, it was a reckoning. For decades, executives walked away from billion-dollar frauds with barely a slap on the wrist. But this year, the handcuffs finally came out. From crypto kingpins to utility company masterminds, these weren't victimless crimes. Behind every scheme were real people. Investors who lost life savings, employees who lost jobs, communities devastated by betrayal. Let's start the countdown. Case 10. Trevor Milton, the electric vehicle illusion. Trevor Milton founded Nikola Corporation, promising revolutionary hydrogen-powered trucks. By 2020, the company's market value exceeded $34 billion, briefly surpassing Ford. But it was all smoke and mirrors. That promotional video showing a Nikola truck cruising down a highway? The truck wasn't driving, it was rolling downhill, powered by gravity. No revolutionary technology, no functioning prototype, just clever camera angles and lies. Milton made false statements about battery technology, truck functionality, and billions in orders. While publicly promoting the stock, he secretly sold hundreds of millions in personal shares. Federal prosecutors charged him with securities and wire fraud. In 2025, he faced massive civil penalties and significant prison time, proof that in the age of information, you can't fake innovation forever. Case 9. Gregory Reyes, the backdating pioneer. Gregory Reyes became the first US CEO imprisoned for stock options backdating. Between 1999 and 2004, he approved backdated options worth millions, essentially buying lottery tickets after knowing the winning numbers. He falsified records and board minutes to hide the fraud. Convicted in 2007, he served federal prison time, a historic moment that sparked hundreds of industry investigations and transformed corporate governance. His legacy? The first CEO to trade his executive suite for a prison cell over stock fraud. Case 8. Timothy S. Durham, the Ponzi schemer. Timothy Durham controlled Fair Finance Company in Ohio, promising safe investments to retirees. Instead, he ran a massive Ponzi scheme costing investors over $200 million. Durham systematically looted Fair Finance to fund yachts, mansions, and lavish parties, while elderly investors lost everything. Many lost their homes, others were forced out of retirement in their 70s. The trial revealed forged documents and deliberate deception. One retired teacher testified she'd invested her entire pension, believing it was safer than stocks. She lost everything. In 2012, Durham received 50 years in federal prison, effectively a life sentence. It remains one of the longest sentences ever for corporate fraud. For victims, recovery returned only pennies on the dollar. The money and the years to rebuild were gone. Case 7. John J. Regas, the family fraud. John Regas built Adelphia Communications from a single movie theater into one of America's largest cable providers, but the family treated it like their personal piggy bank. Corporate funds paid for a $13 million golf course and luxury Manhattan apartments. They concealed $2.3 billion in debt and borrowed hundreds of millions using Adelphia as collateral without disclosing it to investors. When disclosed in 2002, the stock collapsed. Adelphia filed for bankruptcy. John Regas, age 79, received 15 years in federal prison. His son Timothy got 20 years. The scandal, along with Enron and WorldCom, led directly to the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, sweeping reforms making executives personally liable for financial misrepresentations. The Regas name became synonymous with corporate betrayal. Case 6. Aaron Zahn, the public utility plot. Aaron Zahn led JEA, Jacksonville's public utility, serving 500,000 customers, but he saw an opportunity for personal enrichment. Zahn orchestrated a plan to privatize JEA while creating a secret performance unit plan that would have netted him and his CFO $40 million. They buried details in complex documents, hoping no one would notice. Public outcry erupted when journalists exposed the scheme. The JEA board cancelled privatization. FBI agents raided offices, uncovering emails showing Zahn had deliberately structured the plan to maximize personal gain. Convicted in 2024 on wire fraud and conspiracy charges, Zahn betrayed not just his employer but an entire community depending on essential services. JEA remained public under new leadership committed to actual public service. If you're shocked by these corporate criminals, the top 5 get even more outrageous, including number 1's $8 billion fraud. Don't miss out. Explore our hand-picked true crime recommendations. Links in the description. Case 5. Swedbank CEO, the money laundering cover-up. Between 2007 and 2015, over $5.8 billion in suspicious transactions flowed through Swedbank's Baltic branches, money linked to Russian oligarchs and organized crime networks. Senior executives, including the CEO, knew about the problems for years but failed to disclose them to regulators or shareholders. When Swedish journalists exposed the scandal in 2019, Swedbank's stock plummeted. The CEO resigned, but faced criminal charges for misleading investors and failing to report money laundering exposures. In 2024, the former CEO received 15 months in prison, landmark for Sweden, where white-collar criminals rarely face jail time. Swedbank paid hundreds of millions in fines and completely overhauled compliance systems. The message was clear. Hiding financial crimes isn't just poor management. It's criminal. Case 4. Jeffrey Bowie, the malware mastermind. Jeffrey Bowie, CEO of Veritaco, provided IT services to hospitals. Healthcare providers trusted him with their most sensitive systems, patient databases, and life-saving medical equipment networks. But Bowie deployed malware that disabled hospital systems, then charged exorbitant fees to fix problems Veritaco had caused. The malware also harvested sensitive patient data. Hospitals diverted emergency patients when systems went down, medical procedures were delayed, patient safety was directly compromised. Arrested in early 2025, Bowie faced multiple felonies including computer fraud and endangering public safety. Hospitals spent months purging compromised systems. Veritaco collapsed immediately. The case highlighted a disturbing vulnerability. When companies trusted to protect healthcare systems compromise them from within, the consequences can be catastrophic. Case 3. Andrew Wiederhorn, the tax evasion empire. Andrew Wiederhorn built Fat Brands, owner of Fatburger, Johnny Rockets, and dozens of restaurant chains. But he wanted extravagant wealth without paying taxes. His solution? $47 million in fraudulent shareholder loans funding mansions, private jets, and luxury vehicles, structured as loans to avoid taxes he never intended to repay them. The IRS discovered years of systematic tax evasion and money laundering through shell companies and complex transactions. What made it worse? This was Wiederhorn's second federal case. In 2004, he'd served time for tax crimes and promised to go straight. Instead, he developed more sophisticated schemes. Indicted in 2024, he eventually accepted a plea deal involving significant prison time and massive fines. For Fat Brand's shareholders and franchisees, the damage was immense. Reputation tarnished, financial stability questioned. Case 2. Alexander Mashinsky, the crypto freeze. Alexander Mashinsky promised Celsius Network customers incredible returns, 10%, 15%, even 20% annually. Banks are not your friends, he'd say, positioning Celsius as revolutionary. Hundreds of thousands deposited life savings, retirement funds, and college money. But Celsius wasn't profitable. It was using new deposits to pay existing customers while gambling funds on risky investments. In June 2022, Celsius froze all withdrawals. A $1.2 billion hole emerged. Mashinsky had made hundreds of false statements while secretly selling millions in personal holdings. Federal prosecutors charged him with securities fraud. In 2025, he received 12 years in prison. For customers, recovery meant pennies on the dollar, retirements destroyed, families torn apart. The Celsius collapse led to increased crypto regulation, oversight that might have prevented Mashinsky's fraud. Case 1. Sam Bankman-Fried, the $8 billion crypto empire. Sam Bankman-Fried was supposed to be different. He drove a Toyota Corolla, slept on a beanbag, pledged billions to charity. Major outlets called him the J.P. Morgan of crypto. Politicians accepted his donations. Millions trusted him. It was all a lie, the biggest corporate fraud of 2025. SBF created a secret backdoor allowing his trading firm, Alameda Research, to access FTX customer deposits. Billions customers believed were safe were funding Bahamas real estate, political donations, and risky investments. When crypto markets crashed in November 2022, an $8 billion hole emerged. The money was simply gone. Arrested in December 2022, his trial presented overwhelming evidence. Former colleagues testified about systematic fraud. The jury deliberated just 4 hours, guilty on all counts. Victims testified about losing everything: cancer treatment funds, children's education savings, entire retirements. Judge Lewis Kaplan sentenced him to 25 years in federal prison. At 32, SBF would spend his prime years behind bars. For millions of victims, recovery would be partial at best. Trust in crypto was shattered. The $8 billion question has been answered. Greed, arrogance, and believing rules don't apply to the powerful. From Trevor Milton's fake trucks to Sam Bankman-Fried's $8 billion fraud, 2025 proved that justice eventually catches up with corporate criminals. Behind every dollar defrauded are real people. Retirees who lost pensions, parents who couldn't afford education, patients who couldn't pay for treatment. These weren't victimless crimes. Check out our video in the corner for more corporate crime stories. Subscribe to True Crime Explorers and turn on notifications. We post every Wednesday and Sunday, exposing scandals the powerful hope you'll forget. Remember, accountability matters, truth matters, and sometimes justice actually prevails. Until next time, stay curious and stay vigilant.